Hey everybody, today we're going to be making some light up signs, and so we're going to be doing this using Inkscape and then the Glowforge to cut out our acrylic, and we're going to use some cool L-wire electroluminescent light wires for those. So we're going to need 3 layers for our design. The back layer looks like this. Let me see if I can get that so you can see. We've got 5 holes in the top of that, and then just 1 hole in the bottom. And the 2 larger holes are for the Chicago screws to go into, and then the other holes are to feed the L wire. So I'm going to bring up that finished image again so you can see what I mean by the Chicago screws. They're those silver parts, and that way you don't have to use any glue in your design, and it keeps it nice and neat. Okay, so that's our back layer. Our center layer is going to have the big holes there where the Chicago screws are going to go in. And then also you can see that there's a track where the electroluminescent wire, the L wire, is going to go through in 2 layers to light up our design. And then your front layer is going to be made out of clear acrylic, and you'll get to engrave that with whatever image you'd like. The sample one I showed you had the Pasco logo, but it's going to just have those 2 big, larger holes for where your Chicago screws go to keep it all together. All right, so we're going to be going over into Inkscape. And in Inkscape, I'm going to make that larger there. We're going to start with our shape tools over here. So if you didn't open right away to a new document, go ahead and open up a new document. And then we're going to use the shape tool. I'm going to drag out a circle. And then I'm going to go back over to our selector tool and select that circle so that I can manipulate the size of it. And for right now, I want my circle to be in inches. We'll do some converting in a minute, but inches for right now. And our first circle is going to be 8 inches by 8 inches. So we're going to change width and height to 8. I'm just going to scoot that over to the center so we can see it. Okay, once you have your circle as 8 inches by 8 inches, we're going to lock that using that lock toggle so that we always keep our circle circular and we don't get something crazy looking like an oval or something different. All right, so I'm going to right click here and duplicate. That's going to give me a second circle. It's right on top of the first one. I'm going to change the color of my second circle just so I can see that a little bit better. And I'm going to change the size. This time, my circle is going to be 7.5 inches by 7.5 inches. And since that's locked, it already did that for me. Now you can see when we made it smaller, you actually can see the outside there. I'm going to duplicate that again. So that's a right click. I'm going to duplicate it again. And this time I'll pick another color. Let's do this green so we can really see it. And I'm going to switch to millimeters. And so 7.5 inches is the same as 190.5 millimeters. And I'm going to change this to 185. Now you can see that my green circle is inside that blue, aqua blue colored circle. And then we have our outer layer, which is our pinkish purple circle. Okay, so this part is a little bit tricky. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see it. I have my innermost green circle selected. You can see that that dotted line is right on the edge of my green circle. I'm going to hold down my shift key so that I can also select my blue circle. There we go. Now you can see I've got those 2 dotted lines. I have both of them. I'm going to go to the top and I'm going to say path and choose difference. Okay, so what that did was it cut out the green circle from the aqua colored circle, and that is going to be what we need for the track of our lights there. All right. Now, we want to make sure that this doesn't cut all the way around, because if it did, our circle would just fall out. So we're going to do another little trick here. And we're going to come over to our shape tools again, but this time we're going to get a rectangle. I'm going to drag out a rectangle, go to my selector button, This time I'm going to go back to measuring in inches, and I want my rectangle to be 1 inch wide. So I'm going to change the width to 1. The height doesn't really matter so much so long as it covers up your blue circle, okay? So now I've got the green rectangle selected. I'm going to hold down Shift so that I can also select my blue circle. And then I'm going to go to Path again, and I'm going to choose Difference. Okay, so now you can see that what we did is we cut out part of that blue circle so it won't cut all the way through. Now that we have that part finished, I'm going to duplicate again, and that put that one right on top of the first one, and I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Scoot it out just so I can see it a little bit. There we go. And so this is for that second track of lights. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller still because it looks still a little bit too big. We want to make sure that there's enough space for our wire to go on and our acrylic doesn't get too fragile by being too close. There we go. That looks pretty good. So now we've got our outer circle and our track for our lights. And now I'm going to add some additional circles. Now these circles are going to be for the spots where our Chicago screws go. Go back to my selector tool, and I'm going to make these circles in millimeters, and 7 millimeters work great. I'm going to unlock that so I can make sure I get 7 by 7. I want nice circles for my Chicago screws to go into, and I'll lock that then. So I'm going to bring that out right into the center here. I'm going to duplicate that with a right click, and then just bring it straight down using the arrows on my keyboard, my keypad. I'm just going to arrow down so I know that it's centered underneath the first one. Again, don't get it too close to where your wire track is going to be. Okay, so that looks great. All right, now I'm going to duplicate that circle again. And this time I'm going to move it over here. I'm going to change the size of that to 4 millimeters. I'm going to scoot it right to the end of where my wire track is going to be. And I'm going to change the color just so we can keep track of what we're doing here to yellow. Okay, I'm going to click off so you can see that. And I'm going to do that, duplicate that 3 more times so that I have one that's going to go onto the spot of each end of where my wire is. One more time, duplicate, and again, that's a right click. Okay, so that is what we need for our back layer of our circle. I'm going to select all of these. I'm going to drag a big selection box around all of my parts and pieces. Let me zoom out a little bit so I can make sure I've got it. I'm missing some, I can see, so I'm going to hold down my Shift key and go back and get all of my circles. I think I've got it now. I'm going to right click and I'm going to duplicate that. And I'm just going to move it over to the right. Remember, we want 3 layers here. And we're going to start with all 3 the same, but I'll show you what we're going to do then just to get the parts that we want. If we do it like this and duplicate it this way, then we'll be certain that all of those holes are going to line up exactly. Okay, so we're just duplicating 2 times so that we have all of our 3 layers that'll be exactly the same. Scoot it over so I can see them. Fantastic. Okay, so our very back layer, remember that one had the holes for the Chicago screws, and then it had these holes that are yellow right now for where our wire feeds through. And it didn't need it didn't need these other ones for our wire to go through. So now that we are here, we can go ahead and delete those from our back layer. And then we're going to go ahead and make these into holes. So I'm going to select one of them, do them one at a time, hold down Shift, go to the top where it says Path, and choose Difference. So now I've got a hole through that. I've got my big circle selected. I'm going to hold down Shift and pick another one, Path, Difference, hold down Shift to start with my little yellow circles, Path, Difference, hold down Shift to select another little yellow circle, Path, Difference, again, Path, no sticky keys, sorry about that, Path, Difference, and one more time here, hold down Shift, select the yellow, Path, Difference. Okay, so our back layer is complete. I'm going to move on over to our center layer, and our center layer does have all of these parts cut out. So I'm going to start with my green circles. I'll select one, hold down Shift, and now we're going to go to Path, Difference, hold down Shift to go to my green circle at the top, Path, Difference. Okay, and then next I'm going to go to my blue track where my wires are going to go through. Hold down Shift and go to Path, Difference. See how that's cut out now? I'm going to hold down Shift and select the inner one, Path, Difference, and then the same thing for each of the yellow dots. One more. All right, so we've got our first layer. Now we've got our second layer. Now remember our top layer, the only thing we needed for that top layer was these two holes where our Chicago screws are going to go. So this one's going to be our easiest layer to do. So I'm going to go ahead and just click on our wire tracks and delete those. We don't need them. And then I also am going to delete the yellow circles where the wire feed goes. All right, and now I'm going to select my circle, hold down Shift to select the green dot for Chicago screws, Path, Difference, and then I'll hold down Shift to get the second one, Path and Difference. Okay, let me zoom out so we can see all three of our layers here. That looks great. Now the next thing that you're going to get to do, and this part you can just talk to your teacher about, you're going to find whatever image it is that you want to engrave, and then you'll be engraving that on this top clear piece for your acrylic. Okay, now that we have our three circles there ready to go, I added a Pasco County Schools logo for my engraving, but you could choose anything that you want. And I'm going to save these. I named mine LYRCS Ed Week, Computer Science Education Week. You can name whatever you want, but when you are naming it, make sure, and saving it, make sure that you know what it is and where it's going. So I've got mine here, saving to the desktop. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. I already have it there, so I'm going to hit that replace button just so you can see. And I'm going to minimize my Inkscape window, and then I'm going to go to open my Glowforge software. So if you don't have that open yet, it's app.glowforge.com, and I'm going to go to create a new design, and then I'm going to choose upload from a file. And I have it saved right here on my desktop, this LYRCS Education Week. I'm going to open it. It takes just a minute for your design to upload and arrange into steps or parts. There it is. Now remember that these circles here, we want them to be cut. And then my logo, I definitely want to be engraved. And so there it is. And it's a matter of preference, but for me, I like the engraved, when I'm engraving on clear acrylic, I like to flip it vertically so that it's nice and smooth on the top. So I'm going to go ahead and flip that. right? And then, so for my sample one, I did black acrylic on the bottom 2 layers. You could do whatever you would like, but for your top layer where your engraved image is going to be, you're definitely going to want clear acrylic. So I'm going to scooch these 2 out of the way for now. This is the only one I'm going to cut first. I have my medium glass green acrylic selected here. I want to cut those parts and engrave the center. So when you are ready, you would just hit that ready print button on your Glowforge, and it'll give you an idea of how long it's going to take. Now this one, because there's so much engraving here around my Pasco County logo, it might take a little while. Not too bad. And then when it's ready, you will just hit print. Can't wait to see what you create, and please share your designs with me as well.